Today we have the absolute amazing guest, an international singer, Halston Dare. We are so excited to have you on today.
Hi. Oh my God. Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you today. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I have been doing my research on you, and let me tell you something. Your music is incredibly addicting. And, as far as like people that are actually listening today, it's so applicable because there are a couple of breakup songs that
Yeah.
are incredible. So we'll get to that. But let me know, how did you grow up? How did you get into music?
You know, I actually got into music because my father was a musician growing up. Well, when he was my age, he was a big time musician. Then he kind of did it as a hobby when I was growing up. But for some reason, I always had just a really strong connection to music, starting back from a very, very early age, like down to 4 and 5. By age 5 and 6, I knew that I wanted to be a singer and a songwriter. And I stuck with that since. Like there was never like a time in my life where I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like I knew by first grade, I was like, I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to be a songwriter. No other way around it. But I think I got into music writing and feeling such a strong connection to it due to some of the bullying that I experienced. Feeling somewhat like an outcast. I was always a lot more mature than the other kids in the grade. And I always felt different. I always felt like a rainbow flag in a sea of just one color. And, but I'm really glad that I stuck with it. And I'm really glad that I chose the music route because for how crazy wired my brain is, it just contrasts perfectly with the music industry. My parents moved around a lot. We were always in a new house every 2 to 3 years. So no home ever was like home. And I think the one thing that I like resent the most about that is like when I get older and I have kids someday, like I can't like drive down the street and be like, this is the home I grew up in, It's gonna be like, it was this one, this one, oh, and this hotel, and this Airbnb, and
With having relationships, has that ever been more of an anchor for you when you do find something more stable?
yes, I started to use it as a crutch. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
it got it all started in middle school. I don't know why. I started dating this guy. We dated for a year. It's middle school love. And then that's when I started really traveling, started doing music, started coming back to Houston. I met this guy, fell in love with him. We dated for 4 years throughout high school, three and a half years. And I remember having the conversation with him, telling him like, hey, I'm moving to Nashville. And I mean, the only thing that I had focused on was Nashville. Like you were not getting in my eyesight for some odd reason. So in love with Nashville, but I didn't realize that how stuck of a routine and schedule that I was in. I was completely codependent and attached to this person. I broke up with him, spiraled into the deepest depression I'd ever been in, or ever experienced. I was completely heartbroken over it. We didn't even communicate a day after we broke up. His parents had completely locked his phone away from me because they wanted us to break up. We didn't have a toxic relationship or anything like that. It was just, they were like, it's his senior year of high school. So if he can move on from you now before college, that'll be great. Don't call him. And I look back on it now. It was a beautiful relationship. I'm glad I did it when I did. It was just really hurtful. But during that depression, I was longing and longing and longing for somebody to fill that loneliness void of the pain that I was feeling from him. Then I started dating this guy just randomly out of the blue. Dated him for a year and a half. That turned into the most toxic relationship. I have PTSD from it. Like, I can't even believe that I was stuck into just this hole. My expectations had come from here to here. My standards really, really dropped. So when just the slightest, nicest thing would happen, it was just overwhelmingly awesome. And I ended up losing so much weight over it, depressed in my bed for months. And like, I'm in a relationship now, but I found, and he and I we are very, very healthy. But when I first started dating him, I was covering up the pain from that second to last. And I've always found that being in a relationship, I can always have writing prompts about problems of the relationship. And so it's kind of like a twist, because people would be like, oh my God, when you're in a relationship, like you have only love to write about. And like, or writers talk about how like, oh, when I'm in a relationship, I have nothing to write about. Well, for me, when I am in a relationship, I literally have so much shit talking to do that I can write about. When I'm not in a relationship, all I can write about is the same exhausted feelings that I've been feeling for the past 2 months over the same breakup that I have yet to heal over. And my producers and other writers that I write with get so tired of it, because they're like, Halston, we've written about this 4 times now. But when I'm in a relationship, it's just constant new stems of, well, he hurt me this day, so I'm going to write about that. And he did this and it's really irritating. Or, oh, I'm going to write about how you're a child, you know?
That can be extremely cathartic for people that are actually listening. How did Replace You come about?
Replace You came from the boyfriend that I'm actually with today. We had actually broken up just right after that song released. Oh no, we got back together right about when that song released. I can't remember, somewhere around that time. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years, and he's awesome. I love him so much, but we are definitely on 2 different maturity levels. He is definitely a lot farther behind than I am. Not to say that every single person you date has to be on the same level with you. You have to grow together. We're definitely growing together. But at the time, I was very blinded, and he was just really not all there in the head. He was definitely focusing on other priorities. Okay. And, you know, we're 20 and 21, you know, so young. Guys are so underdeveloped than women, and let alone I've, you know, my emotional intelligence is far surpassed than his. Because I've only taken the time, not because it's just naturally evolved over time, but Replace You stemmed from an argument that I had while I was in LA. I used to go to LA like every 3 weeks, and I would go for 3 weeks. So we would be spending a lot of time away from each other. And there was one trip that I went to LA, and every single time I go to LA, the first morning that I wake up in LA, I'm crying. Don't know why. I just wake up crying. Every single trip, I will wake up crying. Don't know why. So I was having a little rough week, and he only cared about his Xbox. And he just wasn't giving me the attention that I really needed. I really needed him that week. And I had which he doesn't know this, but I had a guy hit me up. He's very attractive, giving me attention. But I mean, I wasn't really responding because, you know, it's cheating. I just kind of like, when I called one of my friends, and she was like, what are you doing with him? And I'm like, I don't know. That's a great question. And she was like, girl, you either put him in his place, or you go find somebody that will show him where his place is. And I was like, this guy just thinks he's irreplaceable. Like every single time that I threaten him, tell him I'm gonna leave, blah, whatever. She was like, that's what we're gonna write about today. And I was like, oh, great. Yeah. So that's how Replace You really started. It was just off of an argument that I had with my boyfriend. And then Teach 'Em, I wrote the date after. And Teach 'Em was really cool. And so that, after that argument, and I told him everything, he was like, shoot, I gotta get my crap together. And then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, okay, if somebody doesn't already know how to love, was never really taught how to love, you got to show them how to love you, because if they are already clueless, you might as well just teach them. So that's where Teach 'Em stemmed from. I just don't like this whole stem that like all men are just supposed to know how to treat women. Some men are raised without fathers. Yeah. Some men are mothers. Some men are raised with incredible parents, but somehow it just did not click.
Absolutely.
Every woman is different. Every woman's expectations are different. Every woman's standards are different. And I just hate this whole societal standard that the moment that you get into a relationship, this man is to know exactly how to treat you and what exactly you want. And I disagree with that. I think your first couple months of dating them, you set your boundaries, you set your expectations, you vocalize that. Mm-hmm. And whether or not they meet them, that should tell you whether or not that relationship is for you. And I failed to do that with my relationship. So it has definitely prolonged our problems, which we are completely really working on and have been working on for the past year. We still have so much to work on, but he is really like my best friend, and I really do care about him. It's just we are such polar opposites. And so that sometimes I'm a very detailed, talkative person, and he is a very simplistic person. Definitely been very closed off when it comes to making friends. And then I also find myself in this sense of loneliness, because it's like then I don't have a large friend group because I kind of closed myself off to people. Yeah. That's so and it's hard because you meet somebody and everybody has their masks up at first. Yeah. Emotional masks, not physical masks. Right. Everybody has their emotional masks up at first. And so you never really can tell somebody's true intentions the first couple times that you meet them. You find their intentions 6 months later. And so it's like, do I try? Do I not try? Do I want to get to know them and then get heartbroken? I definitely have a very huge wall when it comes to making girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And you would think it would be making boyfriends, having boyfriends. Right. Completely opposite for me. Do not care about having a boyfriend. I will gladly have a lover in my life. When it comes to girlfriends, I have the hardest time making girlfriends. It is so difficult for me to make girlfriends, and it is so difficult for me to keep girlfriends, and it is so difficult for me to keep girlfriends that like don't ghost me out of nowhere. I've definitely done a lot of evaluating the past couple years, understanding, is it me? Am I doing anything? Is it them? And that's been definitely a bit of a struggle, because it's like, are they using me? Are they not using me? Do they have issues? Is it my issues? And it's a definite roller coaster. Mm-hmm. I gained a friend this summer, coolest girl ever, totally just fell in love with her. After about 3 months of hanging out, she ghosted me just out of nowhere. I was shattered, heartbroken over it. I desperately really needed a new girlfriend in my life at that point. Mm. What I said, did I do something? I woke up and I realized, why do I always question me first? Yeah. It's not it might be sometimes, but it might be all the times that I did something wrong. We hung out. I helped her. She helped me. It was very mutual. She ends up texting me months later, about 6-7 months later. And she's like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, no. No. Mm-hmm. Like, well, I just really want to explain myself. I was like, I really appreciate that. Thank you for coming to me and expressing that to me. However, I don't think you deserve my time and my attention. You were very inconsiderate with my feelings. You ghosted me, and I don't think you really deserve my time. Mm-hmm. And me to accept that would be pushing my respect for myself away. Mm-hmm. She explained a little bit more, and I was like, she was like, well, I would really love to meet up for dinner with you. And I was like, I'm not going to go out of my way to meet for dinner with you. However, I'll hop on FaceTime with you. She ends up telling me, well, my lifestyle intimidated her. She, my drive for working, to want to become better, to constantly be setting a higher bar for myself, she didn't want to do that. For the upbringing that I had, she didn't have. And I think it was maybe a sense of jealousy, intimidation, guilt. And so she removed me out of her life so she didn't have to deal with the problem with herself. Mm-hmm. So here I go, looking back on 6 to 7 months where endlessly crying, wondering what I did as a person and what's wrong with me, to later find out that she told me, you were the greatest friend and I was an idiot for letting you go. That's another thing that people should, that have that same problem to work on, to sit back and realize, did I actually really do something?
Mm-hmm.
Did I actually say something offensive, intrusive, crossing the boundary, borderline? You know, was I a great girlfriend? Was I really a great friend? You know, and I did that for a really long time. I just as hard of a time having a friendship breakup just as a romantic breakup. Because here's this person that has become your human diary.
Yeah.
You spend all this time writing in it, building a connection with it, having safe, secret things that you've told it in a safe space with it. And then again, you have to close this book that you're not ready to close. Mm-hmm. Even when it's your choice to leave, yeah, still attached to this book. Also about friendships is because when it's not on a romantic level, it's a different level. Like these relationships that we're in, we're like human diaries to people. We're like books to people. And we've got stories to tell, stories to find out, secrets to tell, and secrets to hear. And then all of a sudden, you're just left with all of this information and weight. And then you just got to carry on with your life, acting as if it was never there.
But that's why I think going back to one of your friendships, actually having that information in real time would have been so much more healing for you.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Yes. Gosh, was I just longing for an answer for so long at that time. That summer and that fall, just watching that same friend group hang out without me was so painful. And man, would I just have killed for her to tell me that then. I would have been like, hey, that's okay. You don't have to feel like that. I'm not this person with this lifestyle that you think that I have. I'm not this person just with all these, like, that's cool that I have all these dreams and aspirations. That's cool that you don't want to have these big dreams and aspirations. You want to live a normal life or whatever. That's cool. We are completely two different people. There's a reason why we are not the same person with the same brain. We have a good time together. We have a great sparking connection. So it's okay that we're different. But damn, would I have loved to know that then. But there's a reason why I didn't. And, you know, fortunately, I can look at it, grow, learn from it. Or unfortunately, as I did, I built up a wall. And I have created this really painful, dark idea in my head that making girlfriends is not going to be easy for me. At some point, they are going to leave. They're not going to be my friend anymore. I could cry about it right now. It's really, really hard for me. And because of those traumas with friendships, I don't have any problem hitting up a guy. I don't have any problem going on a date with a guy, even though I have been through the like most toxic relationship ever. That doesn't stain my idea on love. But damn, has girls stained my idea on making friendships. It's like after that friendship in November, my boyfriend's best friend's girlfriend, they were like, hey, we should get the girls together. We should get them to like hang out. You know, he was like, my girlfriend has a hard time making girlfriends. Your girlfriend has a hard time making girlfriends. Let's get them together. We did. We had dinner. Oh my God. We were so like, we had so much in common. It was insane. Oh, I fell in love with her. She was just the cutest girl ever. So beautiful, had a beautiful heart. We had the same mindset as well. She was equally just as driven as me, equally independent, equally as strong, same morals. It was awesome. We hung out. Then I didn't hear from her for a month. And I was just really weirded out by it. And then I threw a surprise party for my boyfriend, which her boyfriend was there as well. And I texted her and I'm like, hey, why aren't you here? It's kind of weird. And, you know, and then she was like, well, blah, blah, blah. Why don't we get together this week? So we got together finally. We had a great time. It was awesome, super fun. we end up texting some more. She's like, let's do it. Let's do a double date Valentine's date. I was like, I don't really want to do that. And I didn't really know how to tell her no, because she had been with her boyfriend for a really, really long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm Valentine's days to go through. As of with my boyfriend, it was only my second Valentine's day with him. So I just really wanted to be alone. I ended up having a really, really busy day that day that she had texted me about it. I was signing a lease for this apartment, figuring out my job situation. I had a song demo that I had to deal with. I was in an argument with my parents. I was in an argument with my boyfriend. Shitty fucking day. Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't even on my phone that day. Didn't reply to her until later that night. I get this text message going, you know, let's just reschedule maybe another time. And I was like, what? No, wait, what? And that was the last I heard from her. Oh. And for the life of me, cannot figure it out to this day as to why. And that, I remember saying right before I met her, I went to dinner with her that first time, I remember being like, this is the last time I'm going to try. And my boyfriend was like, no, you can't think like that. And I'm like, no, I really want to think like that. And it didn't work out again. And that was really painful for me, because she not only like ghosted me, she was like mean to me. Oh. And like with some of the friends that I've had in the past, like there's never really been any meanness. It was just kind of like awkward distance. But this one was like awkward and rude. And I remember just being like, I finally, like with the past friends, I didn't text being like, what did I do? Blah. And I'm like, I feel some really awkward tension right now. Did I do something? Like, I'm just checking up on you. Are you okay? And she's like, yep, thank you for checking in. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to punch you in the face. What is your problem? And like, I'm trying to be considerate right now, and you're making me regret my consideration. And so that was really painful. And so I took a break from trying to make girlfriends at that point. Mm-hmm. And I started going to this new hair salon, met my hairdresser, fell in love with her. We started hanging out a bunch, and she started getting really busy, but it didn't have anything to do with me. But my immediate reaction was to start going, did I do something? I haven't heard from her. Did I do something wrong? Yeah. Well, because of my past trauma, also maybe even codependency on some girl friendships, I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from you. We haven't hung out. Is everything okay? And she's like, girl, dude, I love you. Are you kidding me? Yes. I've just looked. My cousin got in a car wreck. You know, this happened. I just haven't had time. My life has just gotten really busy, but no, I love you. I care about you. Of course, I don't want to be your friend and blah. And I'm sitting here going, damn it, here I am again, getting in my head. And so I think I just have this like codependency issue, trauma, PTSD. And sometimes I really have a hard time getting over that idea of getting over that thought of what's wrong with me.
Absolutely.
Just looking forward to finally meeting that like friend who's equally as ambitious.
Yeah.
Equally emotional, empathetic, and maybe even equally traumatized. Yeah. Share some of those similarities, very understanding, and communicative. I find myself a lot in friendships and relationships giving more than getting back. Yeah. Finding that reciprocated energy. I started going through this in early high school. Yeah. As a very small friend group. I think the most painful thing is like going out in public and looking at a big group of girlfriends, and you're like at a. I think that was painful for me. I was on Instagram and seeing a bunch of girlfriends together, and like sitting on my couch, and or I just might be with like my boyfriend, who I love and adore, and I definitely appreciate his company. You know, I have a very small friend group myself, and it's funny is that also that other stigma that influencers and celebrities get is just like, oh, you're just living your high life. You have all the friends in the world. You know, how could you complain? You have all these fans and blah. And it's like, you don't know that. You don't know that about me. You don't know if I struggle with making friends or have a lot of friends or don't have a lot of friends. that that's definitely another difficult part. I have a like when I moved to Nashville, I ate dinner a lot by myself.
Mhm.
My friends would FaceTime me, or my boyfriend at the time would FaceTime me and be like, "Are you at a restaurant?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, why?" And they'd be like, "Who are you with?" And I'm like, "Nobody." And they'd be like, "You're at dinner eating by yourself? That's so weird." And I'm like, "Well, what else do you want me to fucking do?
Right.
I have to eat." And
Right.
they're like, "I would like eat at like my house." And I'm like, "Well, I can't just eat dinner every night at my house alone. I need some kind of human interaction,
Yeah,
at least with the waitress."
exactly.
And I would go out and I'd see like high school girls go to like lunch after school together, and I'd see them all come in a pile, and I'd like look at them, they'd like look at me and they'd be like weirded out, you know. And I think that's like another like hurtful, hard thing to think about. It's like my whole life kind of growing up, kind of just like longing for that friendship and having to be forced into this loneliness.
What you've been talking about and you being so transparent, I know is going to affect people so positively because they need to hear this. They need to hear it from different people. They're going to be same thing, nice people problems or going for their dreams or being bullied or going through breakups. So you just speaking about it is so healing. And I'm so thankful to you for actually sharing with us and being so transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think transparency is the most beautiful thing. And I'm so tired of just this fake stigma that everybody has to put up. And I want to change that. I want to change that whole stigma, this whole societal view that you have to put up a front and not talk about your problems and not talk about your pain and not talk about your relationship and not talk about your problems with your friends, you know, because everybody else goes through that and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's humanly, everybody goes through it. And I want to change that. I want to change that being transparent is beautiful and it's okay.
Mm. There's a lot of meaning behind what you're doing.
You can follow me on all social media platforms at Halston Dare. Best way to get in contact with me is TikTok and Instagram, which are both at Halston Dare. And you can stream all of my music, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, uh, Google Play. Just type in Halston Dare. My recent single just came out. It's called Pinnacle. It's really freaking rocking, and it's definitely a banger to scream out to. If you're going through a breakup, I recommend Replace You. And if you're in the midst of a relationship but with problems, I recommend Teach 'em. But I am releasing more music within these next couple weeks. I don't have any actual definitive details on what the song is going to be about. I'm currently picking that song. But yeah, that's where y'all can get in contact with me, follow me, and follow my journey.
Thank you for being such an intrinsically beautiful guest, Halston. Thank you so much for being with us, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.